Revealed, the touching truth behind 100 nations preparing for an unexpected fight they can't win. In the quaint town of Maplewood, Pennsylvania, tensions roared like thunder, hidden beneath the surface of everyday life. It was a community where everyone shared the same roads and smiles, where secrets were as scarce as a quiet dinner rush at the diner. Sarah, a 34-year-old single mother, worked hard, serving coffee and slices of pie to her neighbors as they swapped stories and laughter. But behind her warm smile lingered a longing, a dream of a better life for her children, Emma and Jake. She wanted more than the steady rhythm of orders and tips. She wanted a future where her kids could reach for the stars, not just the high branches of the rolling hills surrounding their hometown. "Ma, why can't we leave this town?" Emma's words lingered in the air, sparking a familiar ache in Sarah's chest. She often watched news reports of storms and floods tearing through cities, wiping out dreams in seconds. "It's all about saving the trees, Ma." Jake chimed in, oblivious yet hopeful. But in Maplewood, Sarah's dreams clashed against the stubborn iron of tradition. "We've got more pressing issues than saving trees," scoffed Mr. Thompson while sipping his coffee. His comment sent ripples through Sarah's spirit, igniting a fierce determination she didn't know she had. As seasons crawled by, the weather turned wild. The whispers of climate change grew louder, but so did the skepticism in town. Desperate to awaken her community, she began organizing meetings in the diner every Tuesday, clinking coffee cups echoing her hopes. Yet, with every gathering, division threatened to tear them apart, revealing a rift that ran deep. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. As if orchestrated by fate, a storm rolled in, furious and relentless, unleashing a flood that rattled the very heart of Maplewood. Houses were swept away, hope submerged under muddy waters. Those quiet Tuesday meetings turned into frantic discussions of disaster relief, with Sarah standing at the helm, her heart pounding like a drum. "We can do this together," she pleaded, yet the fears of the past clung tightly, muffling her cries. In that moment, the weight of her father's disapproval felt heavier than the floodwaters outside. He stood among the crowd, an old steadfast figure whose beliefs seldom wavered, leaving Sarah feeling isolated. Would she win his support, or would his tradition suffocate her dreams of change? As the tension in the room thickened, a wave of emotion surged, igniting a flame of hope and urging vulnerability. Secrets spilled, giving voices to unspoken fears. Each neighbor's story opened doors, threatening to expose the truth behind the scars they all wore. Would they finally rally together or remain trapped in the thoughts that held them back? As Sarah gazed into the eyes of her neighbors, a question lingered in the air: how far would they go to fight for a new future? Would unity rise from the ashes, or would the flood drown out their hopes once and for all? The tension in the diner felt electric, an unspoken bond connecting the community in a way that hadn't been visible before. Sarah knew they were standing on a precipice, a moment that could change everything. As her father's stern gaze landed on her, she felt her resolve harden. She couldn't let tradition bury their desires deeper than the floodwaters had. "Listen," she said, her voice breaking through the murmurs. "We have to focus not on what we can't change, but on what we can build together. This town means too much to all of us to let it drown." A silence fell, heavy and thick, as everyone processed her words. Then slowly, Jed, a local contractor, spoke up. "You're right, Sarah. I've seen the damage firsthand. We can rebuild, but it'll take all of us." His affirming nod seemed to kickstart something in the room. More voices joined in, hesitant at first, yet growing stronger as they resonated with one another's pain. A sense of camaraderie blossomed, fragile yet promising, like new buds pushing through hardened soil. "I'll help organize the rebuilding. But we should also think about ways to protect ourselves from future disasters, said Clara, the town librarian, her glasses slipping down the bridge of her nose. More trees, green spaces, those things matter. The conversation spiraled, branching out like the very roots they were discussing. The essence of their community began to envelop them, lifting the weight of bitterness and skepticism. Each person seemed to unlock their feelings, peeling back layers of fear, revealing the hope that lay beneath. Stories of loss transformed into plans for the future, a future they could shape together, hand in hand. We could start a tree planting campaign, chimed in Jake, his youthful enthusiasm infectious. And we could teach everyone why it's important. As Sarah watched her son speak, a warmth spread through her. There was life in his words, a glimpse of the future she had always dreamed of for her children, a future where they would be champions of change, not prisoners of the past. But then, just as the energy peaked, her father spoke again, his voice steady but low. You all seem to forget the risks. Nature doesn't play fair, you can't fight it. You need to prepare for what's coming, and sometimes that requires sacrifice. A palpable tension returned, one that threatened to break the fragile bonds they had begun to stitch together. The room grew still, and once again, vulnerability sat at the center of the conversation. Would they fall back into fear, or would they press on, fueled by newfound determination? Eyes darted between Sarah, her father, and the neighbors who had begun to see each other not as opposition, but as allies. Sarah took a deep breath, the air sharp with urgency. What if we showed him what our plans could achieve? She suggested, her heart racing. What if we invited him to see that it's not about fighting against nature, but working with it? The crowd murmured, contemplative but hopeful. Together, they had created a flicker of light in a landscape not only marked by destruction but filled with potential. How could they navigate this new path without leaving anyone behind? As the meeting drew to a close, she felt the tides shift inside her, something hopeful bubbling to the surface. Yet, a question nagged at her. Would her father's love for tradition ultimately overshadow the very dreams she fought for? With that thought lingering, she stepped outside, gazing at the swollen creek that had swept through their town. A new storm loomed on the horizon, a reminder of the strength they needed to forge ahead. Would they stand together, or would the winds of change blow them apart? As Sarah stood at the edge of the creek, a chill danced up her spine. She watched the rushing water, remembering how it had swallowed homes, dreams, and laughter just days ago. The vivid image of destruction was replaced by the collective hope she had felt moments earlier in the diner. But doubts gnawed at her like hungry shadows. Was her community truly ready to rise from the wreckage? The thought of her father, his warning etched firmly in her mind, pulled at her heart. Mom. Jake's voice broke the spell of her thoughts. He was standing a few feet behind her, his small frame silhouetted against the fading sun, the weight of the evening air heavy with possibility. Yes, honey. She turned towards him, forcing a smile. Do you think Grandpa will come around? I mean, he loves this town, right? Jake's eyes searched hers for reassurance, that innocent belief that everything would work out despite the odds. Sarah knelt beside him, brushing back his tousled hair. He does love this town, but sometimes love looks like fear. He wants to protect us. But what if we show him that we can protect each other? Jake's voice was brave, yet tender. There it was again, his unwavering belief that they could make things better. Can we really show him the plans? Sarah hesitated. If they could dive into action and visualize the future they dreamed of, maybe they could bridge that terrifying gap between past and present. Yes, we can. But it won't be easy. Some people may still feel scared, or lost. I'm not scared, Jake declared, fists balled at his sides. I want to help. I want to plant trees. His enthusiasm was infectious. A soft chuckle escaped Sarah, but her heart raced. She looked out at the creek, the gentle hum of nature grounded her. It suddenly struck her, they could gather the town under a common goal and weave back the fabric that had frayed. Let us start a campaign, she said, a spark lighting her eyes. Something that shows everyone we're not just recovering, but were growing stronger as a community. She felt Jake's hand slip into hers, gripping it tightly as if it anchored them both. "You're right. We can do it together." Excited chatter ignited within her, but even as they ran through ideas, her father's voice lingered in her mind. Was it so easy to convince those deeply embedded in tradition? But wasn't he that the point? Change didn't demand permission, it flourished with belief and courage. The following days seemed like a whirlwind. They organized meetings, designed flyers, and gathered volunteers. Their plan wasn't just to plant trees but to create a festival, a celebration of life, growth, and resilience. Sarah felt alive with purpose, a feeling that wrapped around her like a warm embrace, but as the festival day approached, a dark cloud settled in her stomach. What if the turnout was weak? What if her father refused to attend, clinging to fears instead of joining hands? On the morning of the festival, bright sunlight painted the sky. The scent of fresh pine and earth ignited a fire in her spirit as she arranged booths and encouraged laughter. Villagers began to trickle in, hesitant yet drawn to the warmth of their efforts. Then she saw him, her father, arms crossed, standing at the edge of the field, watching. The ache inside her renewed. Would he step over that line? Would he see promise in their work? With each planted tree, they created roots that would tie them close. An uplifting dance of hope and spirit surrounded them. But it was his next move that could shift everything. That as she approached, heart pounding, she could feel the weight of his gaze. Would he embrace this new world, or would tradition chain them to the past? "Dad," she began, hesitant yet hopeful, ready to bridge the gap. But suddenly, amidst the laughter and community, a familiar roar of thunder rumbled from the sky. Every head turned toward the horizon where storm clouds were boiling over ominously. Sarah's heart dropped. How could this be happening? As nature unleashed its fury, would their fragile bonds withstand another tempest? In that moment, with dark clouds growing heavier, a question loomed larger than the storm itself. Would they fight back against the pull of tradition, or would they be swept away again? The first drops of rain began to fall, light and hesitant, before quickly transforming into a downpour that drenched the festival grounds. Panic rippled through the crowd, laughter replaced by shouts of concern. Sarah's heart raced as she glanced at Jake, his youthful excitement evaporating under the weight of reality. "Mom! What do we do?" His eyes were wide, fear creeping in. "Everyone! Let us take cover!" she shouted, rallying the villagers toward makeshift shelters. Sarah's own fear twisted like a knot in her stomach. How could they face another storm when they hadn't yet recovered from the last? As the rain hammered down, she caught sight of her father still standing rigid under the eaves of a nearby barn. The worry etched in his expression was a stark reminder of the past. She took a deep breath, pushing through the crowd, determined to reach him. "Dad!" She called over the rush of wind and water, desperation in her voice. She needed him, the community needed him. He was still her father, despite his fears. That he turned, expression softening just a bit as she approached. "What is going on here, Sarah?" His voice was strained, lashes flicking rain from his cheeks. She searched for the right words, feeling the weight of their history. "We're trying to build something here, to show everyone we're more than just what this creek took from us." She gestured to the chaos around them, organizing under the storm. "But right now, we can't let this moment break us. We need to stay together." His brow furrowed, glancing at the tumultuous sky, then back at the gathering storm of people around them. "How can we fight a storm? All this," he gestured to the crowd, "it's just a distraction, Sarah." "It's not just a distraction. It's hope," she pleaded. Her voice cracked under pressure, but she pressed on. "Look around. They're not running away from the storm, they're coming together. Can't you see? This is what we need, each other." His gaze softened again, and for a brief moment, the storm didn't seem to rage as fiercely. The sight of their community huddled close against the tempest was uplifting. The sight felt almost like a lifeline. Maybe I should help." It was a statement steeped in reluctance, yet a glimmer of resolution lingered. Sarah's heart swelled. Yes. Help me with the tents. We can save our plans and keep everyone safe. She grabbed his hand, pulling him toward the chaos, the rain soaking through their clothes. As they rallied people to secure the remaining booths and cover the laughter that was now muffled by the storm, something shifted within her father. She saw his muscles relax, his arms moving with purpose instead of clenching with fear. Slowly, she watched the hard lines of dread ease from his face. With one final gust of wind, the storm swept over them, its fury seemingly aimed to obliterate every trace of their gathering. But within it all, the villagers held on to each other, representing resilience in a moment when everything felt lost. Laughter shattered the tension as one of the old-timers slipped in the mud, prompting others to join in on the fun instead of wallowing in despair. The atmosphere shifted like magic. "See!" she shouted over the noise. "We can rise through the storm." But Sarah's relief was short-lived when a loud crack of thunder echoed through the air. The ground trembled slightly beneath her feet. What was coming next felt more threatening than the rain itself. With a glance at her father, Sarah's hope clashed with uncertainty. Did this storm merely test their strength, or was it merely the prelude to something far more dangerous on the horizon? Would they be able to withstand the real test that lay ahead? As she wrestled with doubts, the wind howled like a warning. And deep inside, she could still hear her father's voice. "This is not over, Sarah." But what couldn't they face together? As chaos swirled around, Sarah braced herself, ready to fight against whatever came next. In this moment, the real battle was just beginning. The rain poured with relentless intensity, a curtain of water that blurred the world around them. Sarah felt each drop, icy against her skin, but it was the heat of determination that kept her going. "Let us move faster," she shouted, her voice a beacon in the storm as she and her father worked alongside their neighbors to secure one of the tents. The chatter of voices echoed in the heavy air, some nervous, some laughter-filled, all of them a testament to their resilience. "Sarah!" Jake called, struggling to keep his balance as he navigated the mud. He slipped, but caught himself just in time. "Help! I've got him!" Sarah shouted, instinctively rushing to her son's side. She tucked him under one arm, shielding him from the splattering rain. "Stay close. Mom, what if it doesn't stop? What if it keeps going?" His voice trembled just enough to make her heart ache. She crouched down so she was eye level with him. "Jake, listen. We're stronger together. Whatever happens, I'm here. We're all here." She smiled, trying to keep the fear from her own eyes. Just then, a thunderous boom vibrated through the air, making everyone jump. The ground shook slightly, and for a moment, it felt like the earth itself was about to crack open. Sarah glanced at her father, the uncertainty etched deeply on his face. This storm wasn't just rain, it was a test, a trial of their spirits. "Let us keep moving," she urged again, rallying their neighbors. She could see old Ms. Delaney clutching her blanket as a group of kids attempted to entertain her with silly dance moves. Sarah's heart warmed at the sight, reminding her of the laughter that used to fill their town when the sun shone bright. As they ran toward a more secure area, her heart raced not just from the downpour but from a building anticipation. Each laugh and giggle from the children was a defiant roar against the storm. "We can weather this," she called. "We're not afraid of a little rain." But then, another flash of lightning ripped through the sky, far more menacing than the first. It illuminated the frightened expressions of her fellow villagers, fear creeping back into the atmosphere like the storm itself. Jake squeezed her hand tighter, his little fingers trembling. "Mom, he began, but she could see the doubt forming in his eyes, echoing her own. Would this storm take more than just their festival? Was it too much, too soon? Before she could respond, her father stepped forward. "Everybody, listen." His voice cut through the chaos, strong and steady. He had found his footing, a leader emerging from the mists of worry. "We've faced storms before, haven't we? We've seen our homes come together, our community come alive. This is just another challenge, and we're not going to back down now. We stand as one. There it was, the fire in his eyes, the spirit that had once made their town thrive. Sarah felt the flicker of hope ignite again within her. The villagers echoed back sentiments of confidence. Together, they shouted, a chorus against the storm. Suddenly, the rain seemed to lighten just a bit. A collective breath echoed through the crowd. They watched as dark clouds shifted slightly above them. But Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that something more awaited them. Something far more complex than a mere storm. And just as her senses sharpened, she noticed a flicker in the distance, a light shining through the rain. It wasn't just the sun breaking through. Did you see that? She exclaimed, pointing towards the flicker. What is that? Jake squinted, his small face scrunched in concentration. It's brighter, right? That's not just a reflection. Sarah felt a surge of anxiety laced with intrigue. As they all turned their heads to get a better look, a creeping sense of unease settled over the crowd once more. Whatever that light was, it felt significant, almost ominous against the backdrop of their relentless storm. Stay close, she whispered, her heart trembled with anticipation. Was this a sign of something new, or a warning of what was to come? The storm still raged around them, but now they were confronted by an entirely different battle. What awaited them in the light? The answer felt like it was just out of reach. The flickering light grew brighter, cutting through the rain like a knife through fog. Sarah's heart pounded in her chest. What do you think it is? She asked Jake, kneeling down to meet his gaze. His blue eyes widened, uncertainty dancing across his face. I don't know, Mom, but it's kind of beautiful, he responded, letting go of her hand momentarily as he took a cautious step closer. Jake, wait. Sarah called, her voice a mix of awe and concern. She grabbed his arm gently, grounding both him and her own racing heart. We don't know what it is. It might not be safe. But just as she finished speaking, the light burst forth, illuminating the pouring rain. It revealed something remarkable, figures moving towards them through the sheets of water. A small group emerged, some of them cloaked against the storm, but others simply pushing forward, their faces determined. Who are they? Jake whispered, peering out from behind Sarah's shoulder. I don't know, but we have to stay ready, she replied, a sense of duty swelling in her chest. The figures approached, and she could see them more clearly now. Each person held an object that glistened like silver, reflecting the flash of lightning above. Everybody, stand together. Her father shouted, stepping beside her, his gaze steady and watchful. The group began to break apart now, forming a semicircle in front of Sarah and the others. As the figures drew closer, she recognized one of them, Ben, a local farmer. He looked worn but resolute, his shirt clinging to his skin from the relentless rain. His presence ignited a flicker of hope. Ben! Sarah shouted, relief washing over her. What are you doing out here? We saw the light. He called back, his voice carrying through the downpour. We thought it might be a beacon, a sign. He held up the object in his hands, a shimmering lantern, rays of golden light spilling from its sides. The crowd stirred at his words. Curiosity mingled with anticipation. Sarah felt a glimmer of shared hope in their drinks of determination, pushing back the fear that had seeped into their bones. Ben gestured for them to come closer. The storm is fierce, but I believe if we fight together, we can turn it to our advantage. He lifted the lantern high, and the golden light seemed to pulse, casting away shadows as if daring the storm to meet it. Fight? Sarah echoed, taken aback. What do you mean? The power of our unity can shift the tide. Ben's eyes sparkled with fervor. If we share this light, if we stand together, maybe, just maybe, we can push back this darkness. As he spoke, she felt the weight of the moment. It was more than just a rugged town struggling against the elements, it was about something deeper, an enduring spirit that had quietly thrived beneath every hardship they had faced. Around her, neighbors murmured, and Sarah could see the embers of hope taking shape in their eyes. It was a whisper of change, a call to arms forged by a storm they had never anticipated. "Let us do it!" she exclaimed, feeling the adrenaline surge through her veins. "Let us all light our lanterns together." In a chorus of agreement, villagers scrambled, their faces lighting up as they produced old lanterns, candles, and flashlights from their bags. It became a whirlwind of light with every flicker, illuminating the darkness surrounding them. What was once a group of frightened individuals began to unite as a collective force, standing tall against the battering rain, but as they huddled close together, Sarah couldn't shake that unease. The light may have expanded, but the storm had shifted as well, brewing more intensely than before. "The light is growing!" Jake shouted, his youthful exuberance mingling with caution as he gripped her hand again. "But what if we fail?" Before Sarah could answer, another wave of thunder cracked overhead, making them all jump. The sky growled as if challenging their resolve, and Sarah felt the flicker of fear spot her newfound brightness. "Hold on to the light!" she cried out, her voice steady amidst its rumble. The intensity of the moment pressed in on them all. She had ignited a spark of hope, but now they had to face the grandeurs of their fears. What awaited them as their gathered lights pushed against the storm's relentless assault? Would the strength of their bond be enough? The challenge lay ahead, looming larger than any storm. The wind picked up, swirling around the group like a wild beast. They clutched their lanterns, the flickering flames casting dancing shadows on their determined faces. Sarah felt a surge of energy as the villagers stood shoulder to shoulder, a line of warriors against the storm. "Remember, we are stronger together," Ben shouted, his voice booming over the roaring wind. With that, he marched forward, the lantern lifted high as if it were a sword. The golden glow spilled its warmth, pushing back the darkness that threatened to swallow them all. Jake's grip on Sarah's hand tightened. She turned to him, her heart heavy with worry but also lifted with hope. "You ready for this, buddy?" she asked, trying to keep her voice steady, though fear quivered just beneath the surface. That he nodded, eyes bright with fierce determination. "Let us do it." The innocence in his declaration reminded Sarah that this fight was not only for them but for the generations to come. They had to protect the light. As they moved in sync, Ben leading the way, the storm raged, lashing rain against their skin. But the light, a tangible force woven from their combined spirits, seemed to push back the chaos. The wind howled, but within that mad cacophony, Sarah felt something remarkable, a bond strengthened by shared purpose. "I can see the road," shouted one of the villagers, a woman with hair streaked by age but eyes alight with youthful vitality. "We need to reach it." With a collective effort, they pressed on through the downpour, the light glimmering like stars in a pitch-black sky. Ben turned back, catching Sarah's eye, and smiled. There was something infectious about his spirit, something that gave her a sense of reassurance, and then it happened. Just as they reached the edge of the woods that bordered the town, a sudden bolt of lightning split the sky, illuminating the towering trees. Sarah flinched but kept moving forward. The air crackled with electricity, uncertainty mingling with their resolve. "Stay close," she shouted, her voice strained. As they pushed ahead, she felt a pulse of energy, almost as if the earth was urging them onward, daring them to challenge the storm. Then, in the moment of chaos, an unexpected figure stumbled from the shadows, soaked to the bone. It was Mrs. Collins, an elderly widow who had faced hard times, but her eyes were wide with fear and something else, something frantic. "Help! My garden! It's gone!" she cried, panic lacing her voice. The storm took everything. In that moment, the light seemed to flicker, as if the wind wanted to extinguish their hope. Sarah felt the pull of despair threaten to drag them down. "Mrs. Collins, we'll help you," she called out, even as uncertainty gripped her heart. Did they have time to save anything? Without hesitation, Jake pulled on Sarah's sleeve. "Mom, we can't just leave her. We can take the lantern." A flash of pride swelled in Sarah's chest. Her boy was right. In the face of destruction, they had to stand united not just for their own hope, but for everyone in their community. All right, everyone. Sarah raised her voice over the storm. We'll shine for Mrs. Collins. Let us go. And with that, they turned back toward the desolation, determination renewed. Each step into the storm was laced with the weight of their choices, shouldering not just their own burdens, but each other's as well. As they drew closer to the remnants of Mrs. Collins' garden, the light battered by the wind flickered, making Sarah's heart race. What awaited them in that path between light and darkness? Could their collective spirit truly withstand a tempest? And deeper within, Sarah wondered, was the light strong enough to bring life back to what had been lost? The air grew heavy as they approached Mrs. Collins' garden. The once vibrant patch of flowers and vegetables was now a tangled mess of mud and uprooted roots, swallowed by the storm. The lanterns struggled against the fierce wind, yet their light was a beacon, a small promise of hope in the chaos. Come on. Ben urged, his voice steady despite the chaos around them. The villagers moved with purpose, each face lit with determination. The shadows danced wildly, but they refused to falter. Together, they were stronger than the storm. Sarah scanned the area, her heart racing. What can we do? She asked, urgency seeping through every word. Could they save any part of Mrs. Collins' precious garden? Jake, with his small stature, darted toward a clump of what looked like a twisted tomato plant. Mom! Look! He called out, excitement breaking through his earlier fear. Maybe we can get it out. Sarah interrupted, rushing to his side. We'll need to keep it safe. There was no time to think, only to act. They dug through the mud, pulling at the soaked plants, desperation driving them forward. Each time they unearthed something, it felt like lifting a weight from their hearts. A group of villagers joined them, believing there was still something worth saving. Their combined strength manifested as they yanked at stubborn roots or held up fragments of Mrs. Collins' garden that the storm had tried to steal. The rain fell harder, each drop feeling like a reminder of their struggle, but they kept working. Why did I think I could rely on my garden? Mrs. Collins whispered, her voice shaky as she knelt beside them. I should be expected this nothing last forever, right? Don't say that. Jake said fiercely, eyes burning with defiance. We can make it grow again. You taught me how. His youthful belief ignited something in Sarah, a flicker of truth that reminded everyone of the power of resilience. Sarah faced Mrs. Collins, her heart softening. We're not just saving a garden. We are showing that we won. Back down. Her words hung in the air, resonating with everyone around. That one sentiment echoed through each person standing there, the unbreakable bond only they shared in moments like these. They worked with a frantic urgency, time slipping away with every flash of lightning. With each plant they salvaged, they reclaimed a piece of hope. There. That one. Ben pointed, and everyone turned to pull up a stubborn carrot, still standing strong in the mud. They cheered as it came free, a triumphant small victory amidst the storm. Sarah's heart thumped hard as she glanced at Jake, his face streaked with dirt but lit with joy. In that moment, she realized the light shining from their lanterns was not just a flicker of flame, it was hope, laughter, and determination bundled together, filling the night with warmth. This is what it means to be together, Ben shouted out, lifting the carrot in victory. But just then, the wind shifted. A powerful gust howled, almost as if mocking their efforts, and within that sudden rush, Sarah felt a chill creep down her spine. Was it the storm or the creeping doubt lurking within? Could they really restore what was lost? What if their best efforts faltered against the chaos surrounding them? With hearts pounding, they pressed on, but uncertainty began to seep in, leaving Sarah wondering, would they pull off the impossible? Could they truly revive hope when the world felt determined to take it away? Lightning cracked overhead, illuminating the faces of the villagers as they fought against the storm. Each flash brought renewed focus, determination shining in their eyes despite fear lingering just beneath the surface. Sarah dug her fingers deeper into the mud, her palms growing slick and cold. One more, she urged, not just herself but everyone around her. We're making progress. Each plant they lifted felt like a small victory, a lifeline thrown to Mrs. Collins, a promise that they were not giving up. The rain poured harder, soaking through their clothes, yet they pressed on. You've got this, Sarah, Ben shouted, and his voice wrapped around her like a warm hug. It was moments like these that felt eternal, a blend of hope colliding with despair, but still choosing to hope. Mrs. Collins knelt beside them. Her hands trembled as she clutched a half-buried flower. This one was special, she murmured. It was my grandmother's favorite. Sarah's heart twisted at the tremor in the older woman's voice. Here was more than just a garden, this was a legacy. Then we'll save it, Jake said with fierce conviction, as if worrying about the inevitable heartache was a waste of energy. We'll give it everything we have. With renewed vigor, they dug deeper, their laughter and shouts mingling with the sound of rain. The fear that had gripped Sarah loosened slightly, replaced by a growing sense of purpose. Could they really restore this sense of belonging? Suddenly, Sarah felt a shudder beneath her. Was it the ground shifting or just her imagination? She turned to Jake, who looked up at her with innocent determination. Mom, look! He yelled. Over there. He pointed at a cluster of green leaves peeking out from under a pile of mud. The villagers shared a collective gasp as Sarah, with shaky hands, began to clear away the debris. It was breathtaking, a small cluster of vibrant tomatoes, bending but alive. See? Not all is lost. Ben hollered, heart brimming with joy. They worked together to free the tiny plants, each one more delicate and beautiful than the last. Sarah's chest swelled with pride. But just then, the wind picked up again, and Sarah felt it rattle the very core of her belief. What if this brief burst of optimism was just a cruel illusion? Closing her eyes for a moment, she embraced that uncertainty, allowing it to wash over her like the rain. She breathed deep, letting each inhale fill her with the scent of wet earth and budding plants. We can't let the storm take this away from us. She yelled, voice raw. We owe it to Mrs. Collins to fight. The villagers nodded, their spirits rallying like a storm surge, reigniting their energy. They moved with urgency, hand in hand, pulling plants free. The air was thick with tension, but also with something hopeful. As they gathered the rescued plants, Sarah marveled at what they had created together, a small sanctuary amidst chaos, a testament to their love and resilience. Could hope truly arise from despair? With every plant they saved, they carved out a part of their shared future. But, as the storm raged on, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning. The battle was far from over, and unseen challenges loomed ahead. Would their patch of hope hold, or would the winds of fate bring them down again? As the last drops of rain began to fall softly, an eerie calm enveloped the group, leaving Sarah with a question that echoed in her heart: what would they face next in their fight to reclaim the future? The storm had finally begun to relent, allowing a fragile silence to drape across the battered landscape. Sarah stood amidst the wreckage of Mrs. Collins' beloved garden, the lanterns illuminating their efforts flickering weakly in the newfound calm. She felt tired but alive, each breath steeped in the shared triumph of what her community had accomplished. Their hands, blistered and muddy, held remnants of life, a testament to their determination. Jake stood beside her, radiant with pride as he cradled a handful of soggy soil that held the roots of their hope. Sarah's heart swelled at the sight of his shining innocence shining through, a reminder that the strength of their community had sparked a light within him. Mrs. Collins approached slowly, wiping her tears against the back of her hand, her eyes catching the glow of the lanterns. Thank you, she choked out, emotion clawing at her voice. You brought my garden back to life. No, Ma, Jake chimed in, his voice firm and unwavering. We did it together. His enthusiasm rippled through the crowd and laughter broke like bubbles in still water, lifting the tension that had gripped them for so long. Sarah felt a change happening, a shift from dread back to hope, and it wrapped around her like a warm blanket. Life wasn't about avoiding storms, it was about learning to dance in the rain. We have more to do, she said, turning to her neighbors. We've got a town to rebuild. The feeling of unity resonated like wildfire. Voices joined together, echoing shared dreams and breaking the facade of doubt. They gathered back into a circle and formed a plan, their lanterns illuminating their vision. "Let us create a community garden," someone shouted. "A place to honor what we lost and celebrate what we've built." "Yes," Sarah exclaimed, the spark igniting her heart. "And we can host events, educate everyone about the environment, how to prepare for storms, how to grow together." As ideas tossed around like brown leaves in the wind, Sarah tactfully looked for her father among the faces. His presence loomed large in her memory, full of pride yet entangled with tradition. She found him standing a few feet back, watching intently. Their eyes met, an unspoken understanding starting to take shape. Without hesitation, she approached him, her heart thudding with trepidation. "Dad," she began, her voice steady but warm, "this is the new Maplewood. We need your support to make it thrive." His stoic expression softened, a conflict of emotion looming behind his eyes. I don't know, Sarah. You have to understand, change is scary for some of us." "Change is a part of life, Dad," she replied, making sure her voice was soft yet firm. "But if you stand with us, it could be something beautiful. Together, we can protect this town and learn to live alongside nature. You know that better than anyone." There was a moment of silence, the storm's aftershocks still rumbling in the distance. But gradually, she saw a glimmer of realization in his eyes, a tiny ember of hope rekindled beneath layers of fear. "I raised you to be strong," he eventually said, his voice steady. "If you believe in this, then maybe I can too." Her heart soared as she took his hand, and together they turned toward the crowd, one family amidst a sea of neighbors. "This is our chance," she called out to everyone gathered. "Let us show the world what Maplewood can do when we fight for each other." As laughter and applause erupted, Sarah felt something shift within the town, a collective spirit unmoored from the shackles of past. In the days that followed, the community rallied together, each person becoming a thread in the vibrant tapestry they were weaving. They cultivated the ground for their garden, some planted trees, others organized storytelling nights to share and honor their history. Kids ran about, laughter weaving through the air like silk. Each moment was a promise that they could nurture the roots that tied them together, despite the storms that had come and gone. On the festival's rescheduled day, a celebration of new beginnings, Sarah stood welling with emotion, watching the townsfolk celebrate their resilience. Against all odds, they had transformed fear into foundation, and their unity became the heart that pulsed through Maplewood. As the sun set behind the hills framing the old diner, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, Sarah felt a sense of gratitude swell up within her. Everything felt right, infused with potential and optimism. "Mom! Look, the trees are already sprouting," Jake exclaimed, running towards her, his eyes wide with wonder. Sarah felt tears prick at her eyes. "Yes, honey. And they will provide for us in ways we've never imagined." Their community stood together beneath the rich tapestry of the sky, a radiant collection of love and light, transformed by the unexpected fight they had survived. In doing so, they discovered that the true power lay not in shying away from the storm, but in coming together to face whatever lay ahead, and in that realization, Sarah knew they could weather any storm as long as they did it, together. Don't wait. You need to subscribe to the channel right now so you don't miss inspiring stories just like this one. Leave a like now, because your support feeds the algorithm and helps us grow. Comment below your reactions and feelings about this ending. And please, share this story instantly with at least 5 friends who need to see this incredible transformation. This is the moment to show your support.